خاصی اون بقیه بدیم واسه
مگه چی بوده؟
هیچ چیز خاصی که نداشتم. خواستم ببینم که بیزنس هایی که به نظر
چیز میخوایم ببین؟ نه
یه لیست بده. Can we ask those people over there to either come and sit over here or maybe go outside so they wouldn't distract us? Please take your seats. We are about to start the program. Mahbub Jan, Ali Jan, can we sit down so we start the program? And for those people who are standing over there, once we start, can you please either refrain from talking or go outside and talk because our speakers get distracted. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Eid Shoma Mubarak, Happy New Year, and welcome to another Persian Tech Network session with fireside chats and also some presentations, some startup presentations. My name is Saeed Nesbat, and I am privileged and honored to be your host tonight. If you are here, that means you are coming here not only to learn about some companies, but to get motivated and also to make some connections. So if you want to make some connections, that means you should talk to some people that are strangers to you. Okay, so I would like to encourage you at the times after we finish, we have some networking time. Go to someone that you do not know and present yourself and ask their names, what they do, and try to make that connection that may be instrumental in your career, in you making a company in the future. You're going to do it, right? Okay, and then I want to do a very informal poll about who is in what area, and I may not cover all areas. So raise your hand if you are a data scientist. I guess everybody will raise their hands. Okay, now raise your hand if you are a biomedical or bioengineering, something related to bio and technology, biotechnology. Raise your hand if you are an investor. Okay, mark these people. You're an investor. Raise your hand if you're thinking of a startup and you've already done something about the startup. Okay, great. Raise your hand if you have an idea and you think it's a knockout idea and you want to get money to start your startup. Oh, there's an overlap for some people. Plug and Play, the Amity Group, are the organization that helps you. They help you take the first steps and also get to the next step by providing you with the essentials for a startup, which could be capital, could be a place, and could be a connection. They do all of that for you. And if you have those ideas and you're eager, talk to one of the representatives of Plug and Play. Ahmad Reza would raise his hands. You would mop him if you have ideas and you need to talk to someone about development of it. So the first part of the program tonight is the startup presentations. Tonight we have two startup presentations. The first one is Sensorite, and Danielle would be online here, and people will connect us to Danielle. Yes, Rashad? Danielle, take it away. You got 10 minutes.
Can you hear me, by the way?
We can hear you. Yes, Daniel.
Awesome. Very nice to meet you. I'm calling from San Diego, the CEO and founder at Sensorite. So Sensorite is focusing on improving radar accuracy through advanced signal processing and machine learning. We are part of Nexus portfolio system, which is an incubator in San Diego. So thanks for inviting Sensorite to be part of this event today. And I'm going to go over some very high-level understanding of what Sensorite is doing. So I came out of Qualcomm after about 10 years of experience. I've been a adjunct professor at San Diego State University for about 2 years, and also I've worked in MaxLinear, one of the tech companies also located in San Diego. So we are still a small team, and our focus is just radar detection enhancement through software-based approaches. So let's see what could be the problem with the radar. Radar is not something we invented. It's been there since, I think, World War II. And has different applications from automotive to robotics to defense, right? So basically, radar performance is defined by a parameter called resolution. As any image, any sensor, which is based on image, radar is also based on imaging, and it has a parameter called resolution, like camera, right? But the resolution for the radar is different than whatever we understand from camera. So resolution of the radar is angular, and the performance of the radar is heavily dependent on the size of the hardware. So meaning that if we want to improve the accuracy of the radar, that means that we have to improve the resolution, and the resolution is dependent on the hardware. So think about it. If you want to have a very accurate and high performance radar sensing to detect surrounding object in a very accurate fashion, you have to increase the size of the radar. And for some applications, including automotive, that's not possible, right? Because you cannot install a very bulky, huge size radar on a car to detect small objects for you, right? So hardware approaches, as the autonomy level of the vehicles, including self-driving technology, is improving, could not be a solution for high resolution or high accurate radar sensing. And this is why we came with the idea to improve the resolution of the radar or the accuracy of the radar using software-defined approaches. So what we do, basically, we have used machine learning and advanced digital signal processing to improve the radar. So Sensorite is an embedded software company. Although we have radar for our own developments, but we are not planning to provide hardware. We just want to work with those who already have the radar to get a higher resolution at a lower price and lower size. So, so this is one of the demos we have done some time ago. And you can easily understand that when we are talking about resolution or accuracy of the radar, what we are actually referring to. So the left side is Sensorite solution, which is actually a software enhanced technology on the radar, on an automotive radar. So we have used an off-the-shelf radar and we upgraded the processing part of it using our own technology. And you can see that the improvement is very obvious at almost no cost to the radar manufacturer. So because we didn't change the hardware, right? So we just upgraded the software by our own software technology. So we have been working with a couple of suppliers from automotive so far, as well as defense applications, but our focus currently is automotive. We have a customer who already have the radar sensor for cars, but basically their own customers are complaining about the accuracy issues that they have, right? So we have helped them to improve their performance or the radar performance just by using our own software or our own technology. So, yeah, we have started generating revenue since 2024, and we are actively working with the customer from automotive. And this customer actually is also interested to acquire us down the road, and they already have provided LOI for acquisition. But we think we are too early to be acquired at this stage because there's so much room to still work on. So in terms of traction, we have worked with a limited number of players in the radar domain, mostly from automotive. And as I said, we are working actively with one of them, and we have a contract for developing our technology into their existing radar products. But that's something we want to also explore to try different opportunities in the automotive and some other spaces or verticals which we already get validated in terms of the product proof of concept. So yeah, so we have a very clear exit strategy. We expect to exit in 2026, and because we already have an LOI, but this is just an estimate for now, or forecast for now. But as I said, we need to see how things will go over the next couple of years. So I think this is all what I had. If there is any question, happy to chat and discuss.
Go ahead. We have a couple of minutes for maybe one question. Okay, over here.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I have a question about the demo that you showed. So basically, you are able to say where on X and Y axis actually plane the target is, right? So what is it new about your approach than what is out there off the shelf, like Texas Instrument, right? They have these millimeter wave radar that comes with a software that the demo looks like what you show. I'm not sure how it's different. If you can shed light on it, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So this demo is one of the basic scenarios we have done. We show in our presentations. So definitely, we are using also Texas Instrument off-the-shelf radar for the hardware. But when it comes to the software, we are improving angular resolution based on single chip radar sensing. So we are taking single chip radar from Texas Instrument, and we improve it through software. So Texas Instrument is using cascaded radar, meaning that to improve the accuracy of the radar, they need to cascade multiple radars, right? And they refer to as cascaded radar, which is more expensive and larger size. So we are not going through that approach. We just stick to single chip radar and improve the accuracy, which is angular resolution, basically, using machine learning and signal processing.
Daniel, thank you very much for your presentation. We really appreciate that. Please give a hand to Daniel.
Of course, yeah. Thank you for inviting us, and
thank you very much. The next presentation is done by Reza for Fonello. Reza, take it away. Please help me welcome Reza.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. So, in good conscience, I cannot say this about any other startup idea that I've had before or worked on, and that is, I truly believe that within a 1 year time, all of you will be experiencing in your daily life the technology that I'm about to show you in one form or another. So I'm glad you're here to see it first. The problem we wanted to tackle is that not every phone call needs a human on the other side. Businesses spend millions of dollars and thousands of hours answering calls that are not relationship-based, that are transactional phone calls that can be automated away. And the problem with doing it this way with humans is a human can only answer one phone call at a time. So you need a lot of people and a lot of time, or your customers are going to be behind a busy line. The solution is obviously to use AI to handle those calls in parallel, 24/7, in every language, for all businesses and sectors and industries. This helps eliminate the need for hiring additional staff members, for training them, for having an office space for them, providing benefits, and it eliminates the wait time and the busy lines that none of us really like to get. It also helps businesses to increase their revenue because now they are answering and taking advantage of every opportunity that comes their way. I really don't know if this is going to go well, but I'm going to call one of our customers. It is a luxury apartment building in downtown Los Angeles that is using our AI as their front desk. So if you call it, this is live in production, but I don't know how it works with the microphone. So let's see if it goes well.
Hi, this is Sophie, the art.
Probably hears itself. Hi, Sophie.
Hi, this is Sophie, the artificial intelligent property manager at 1010 Apartments. How may I assist you today?
Yeah, so my wife and I are thinking of moving to Los Angeles in the next several weeks, and we're looking for a 2-bedroom apartment. Do you have any available for a budget of maybe like $4,000?
Absolutely, I can help with that. For a budget of about $4,000, you might be interested in our Deluxe Plus or Executive Floor Plans at 1010 Wilshire, priced at $39.65 and $43.80 respectively. Alternatively, at 1010 Downtown, the Executive Plus option is available at $4,050. These are all fully furnished, all-inclusive units, which means parking, utilities, internet, furniture, and many more features and amenities are included in your rent.
Wait, so I don't have to pay for electricity or water or anything?
That's correct. When I mentioned all-inclusive, I meant that utilities such as electricity, water, and even internet are all included in the monthly rent. This also includes parking and furniture, making it a great value considering what's all included.
Okay, one last question. It's very important for me. I'm Persian, and I like to cook kebabs on the weekends. Can I do that on the rooftop?
Yes, you can cook kebabs on the weekend. Our rooftop is equipped with barbecue areas and fire pits, perfect for your weekend kebab cooking. It's a great way to enjoy the panoramic views of downtown Los Angeles while indulging in your culinary passion.
All right. So, is there like a brochure for the apartment you can send me?
digital brochure. Please feel free to look it through at your convenience and let me know if there's anything else I can help with, or if you'd like to schedule a tour.
No, that was all. Thank you. So I got the answer to my questions. I got a text for a brochure of the apartment, or I could have asked for a tour link or anything else. And that's the future that we envision would be for a lot of businesses, because our AI, in the several weeks that it's been running for this customer, there was one day in particular that actually booked more tours than their human agents on staff. And it can do it at a fraction of the cost. Oops, I got a... Oh, correct. So why did I say that all of you would eventually see this? Because it applies to so many industries. Doctors who want to handle prescription refills. Home services people who want to schedule clients or inspections at houses. Restaurants that want to take orders. Freight and logistics space, which is the area that I actually came up with this idea from, who want to do check calls with truck drivers, etc. And the market size, as a result, because it's in every language and every sector almost, is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. And the growth of opportunity is truly there. One of the potential clients that we're working with, we did a study for them just to put some numbers in perspective. They do 60,000 hours of calls on check calls with their drivers. They're a trucking company. They call the driver, ask them, hey, where are you? Are you going to get there on time? And that is taking about 54 employees, which cost them about $2.7 million a year. If they were to make the same number of calls, the same number of minutes with our AI, it would cost them only 900 grand. They would save 1.8 million, and if they don't do it, their competitors will. So it's really a future for a lot of businesses to have their calls handled by AI. Our business model is super simple. It only costs 25 to 50 cents per call, really, for businesses to have this, which is far, far less than minimum wage, because you don't have to multiply it by every minute in the hour. It's only when it's talking. And there is certainly competition. There are companies even approved by YC or other investors that are doing this for different industries. But our solution is very out of the box, ready to use. Believe it or not, we went live for 1010 Apartments in a single afternoon when they just realize what our product is. So here's our team. We've been together for about 9 years. We're completely bootstrapped so far. Our product is in a stage where we are looking for clients in different industries and sectors. So if you are a business owner, or if you know someone who wants to have this technology, let us know. We'll give it to them for free to start. And we're open to fundraising opportunities. That is Finello, and that is a demo number. If you call it, you can talk to our AI, or you can go on our website and talk to our AI.
Thank you very much, Reza. We'll take one question from the audience if there is any. Anybody? I have one question for you.
Sure.
How do we know Sophie was real?
Well, Sophie, you can ask her. Sophie actually, by the request of the customer, it introduces herself as an artificial intelligence property manager. So it sets the expectation on the user that this is an AI you're talking to, but it's a lot better than press 1 for this, press 2 for this, or saying, I want to talk to the front desk, and then you get a busy line. So it's an AI, but it's able to answer 90% of the questions that come through by typical customers who call the building.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Now we come to the fireside chat session of our meeting tonight. Tonight we have 2 exciting fireside chats. One featuring an amazing woman who is controlling the production of the incredible piece of hardware that powers the permeating generative AI of our times. And the other showcases the remarkable journey of 2 men who are at key positions of companies that interact with you through increasingly personalized and targeted advertisements using generative AI. So generative AI comes into both of them. I am sure you will enjoy the insights that our fireside chat guests will provide you tonight, and hopefully we'll have some chance to ask some questions to personalize your interaction with these people. But first, It is rare that a technical revolution and inflection point happens in our times, and we are fully aware of it. Often it is in looking back in a hindsight that we realize that the invention of the transistor, the creation of the internet, or the introduction of the iPhone were such momentous technical revolutions. Right now, we are living in such a rare time when generative AI, along with the associated enabling hardware, is going to drastically change our relationship with technology. And we are hoping that it is going to be a good one. Our first guest tonight, Bahare Mirjamali, is in charge of managing the production of the hardware that is going to power, almost monopolistically, this impending revolution of our times. I am so excited to meet her and to learn from her what our future looks like. Please help me give a warm welcome to Bahare Mirjamali. Bani Jamali. Oh my goodness. When you went over there, I did my faux pas. I am so sorry. Please sit down. Ms. Bani Jamali, and I cannot forgive myself. Let's see if I can make up for it by agreeing with you for the rest of the evening. Thank you very much for our invitation. I have to recover from my embarrassing faux pas. You are in charge of a very powerful product in a very powerful company. And we need to retrace to see what got you there. You have a PhD from MIT. You worked at Xilinx. You worked at Tessera on the way to getting over here. But let's go back further. And you were born into a scholarly family. Your parents were educators. Tell us about what made you interested in this highly technical environment.
Okay, I have to start and say, honestly, I just really never planned it the way it ended up to be. My dad was a civil engineer, and he also was a professor at University of Tehran, so he wanted me to go to University of Tehran. He wanted me to go to civil engineering department, take over his company, and do what he was doing. So I started just applying to University of Tehran as my first choice. I got in, made him so happy, but then toward the end, my brother came back to Iran, wanted to take over, so then I decided to look for what else can I do. And then just happened that my friends were applying, they were coming to US, and they encouraged me. They said, why don't you apply? And I was totally really didn't spend that much time. Even I remember writing the essays for universities, just handwriting the essays in 5 minutes. I think it just happened. Maybe I got lucky, to be honest. I never planned for anything. It just...
You're modest too. Yes.
No, I think I got lucky. And then I applied to 5 colleges, and I just got lucky that I think 3 said no, 1 said yes with no scholarship, and MIT ended up being the only one that accepted me with a scholarship, so that's how it happened.
That was for your PhD. You got
Yeah.
full scholarship to do that. But in Iran, which university did you go to?
University of Tehran.
University of Tehran.
Yeah.
And what did you study there? What kind of engineering was it?
So I did civil engineering because my dad was a civil engineer. He has a company that designs the ports in Iran, and then I just wanted to, make him happy, take over his company as he wanted one of us to do, and my brother and my sister didn't do. When I almost toward the end of my graduation, when my brother came back, then he was going to take over, so I had, the flexibility to say, okay, what else do I want to do? And then when I came to US, the full scholarship from MIT was for civil engineering, so I started, and then I think about a year later, I just talked to one of the professors that I always wanted to work with, Professor Bathe, in mechanical engineering department, and I said, I actually want to work with you, and then he said, you can you can work with me, you can switch to mechanical engineering, but then I realized that the scholarship was coming from civil engineering, so they would just stop the scholarship. And that was fine. I think he said, I will give you research assistantship, TA, like teaching assistantship. So for the last 3 years, I was a course 2 student, which is mechanical engineering, working with him. But then I didn't have any scholarship anymore, so it was either like I was being paid for my research, or I was helping him as a TA. So I graduated, and I think I hope everybody knows this, that the first job that you get out of college defines maybe, not always, but most of the times defines the rest of your career, basically.
Was that at Xilinx?
No, that was Intel, the 1 year Intel.
You
so
had
that
first Intel.
One Intel, and then that was in Arizona. I wanted to move to California, so after 1 year, I found Tessera. I moved to California, and then I was at Tessera. That one of the VPs of Xilinx that went to MIT approached me and said, do you want to join my team? You want to join Xilinx? And back then, they were starting on the technology that Hopper, the famous chip that everybody...
H100.
H100 that everybody is getting, is the technology that is the core of Hopper. Mechanically was starting at TSMC, and back then Xilinx was switching to use the technology. So I joined Xilinx, worked there for 6 years, and then I joined NVIDIA about 8.5, 9 years ago.
You're in a good place right now. NVIDIA is
Thank you.
the third most valuable company in the United States after
Thank you.
Microsoft. And what is the other one? Apple.
Apple.
And it's NVIDIA, and it's climbing up there. I would like to get to NVIDIA and to Blackwell, which is the successor to Hopper, the B200. But before that, I want to ask you, what did you learn in Xilinx, Tessera, and Intel that helped you perform your job at NVIDIA so successfully?
So Tessera was a totally different company. Half of the company would do research, come up with IPs and patents. So I think I learned to be thinking about like what problems we have, what technologies to come up with, like, and how to file patents, and just following up what other companies are doing. I think what lacked for me was that it didn't have any production. So any technology that you work with, it's like research that you do in university. Is it going to be manufacturable? Is it something that you can make in high volume? Not necessarily. So that's when I joined Xilinx. It was interesting to see that now you have an actual product. So any concept that you work with and you think that it's a great concept, but is it going to be something that you can make a product out of it? And it was interesting to learn to, I think that's when I actually worked a lot with TSMC and on the same technologies, a lot with suppliers, and paying more attention to system level things in terms of like how everything works, and working with customers, like how every customer wants to customize their systems. And then when I joined NVIDIA, then I totally switched to product management, program management, and that's when we were there was when I joined, there was another product that we were doing. So everybody remembers H100. It was P100, it was V100, and then H100. So
But these were not targeted towards AI specifically. They were general purpose graphic or tensor or...
No, 8 years. I think it's 8 years ago or 6 years ago that Jensen
had the vision.
Hand delivered 8 of them together to OpenAI in San Francisco.
Oh.
6 or 8 years
so
ago.
So they jump-started them, you say, in a sense.
Yeah, it has started.
And right now it's turning the other way. OpenAI is in need of B200, which is going to fuel the revolution, right? That's what you're hoping.
I think H100 did to some levels. I think a lot of people, and B100 would do the same. I think it's a next generation of H100 in terms of really depends on what kind of accelerated computing and computational work every company is going to do.
Well, what
How many GPUs you need.
Yeah, from what we're hearing, everybody is going and moving into AI, generative AI, and they need massive amount of computational power, which is going to be provided by none other than 90% of it is going to be it's forecasted to be done by NVIDIA.
And I think there is a reason for it.
There is a reason for it, yes.
I think the
Well,
fullest
it's a good
stack
place to
solution.
be in.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think the fullest stack solution. I think we started maybe back then with chips, and then we realized that it's not just having these chips. It's the systems. You have to have the fullest stack solution, and then you have to have the software for it. So it's it's much easier when
You own everything.
you own everything.
It's like a closed system,
Yeah.
somehow. So Blackwell B200 GPU is named after David Blackwell, who is a professor who invented
Mathematician.
mathematician, statistician, game theorist. Also, he is the one who invented almost functional programming, which is dividing a program into different parts that could be done by multiple or parallel processors. It's 5 times faster H100. It's a package that is sold. We still don't know how much it costs. It's going to be 3,000 to 30,000 to 40,000.
Depends. No
Is that a
comment
teaser
on that.
price or is that a real one?
Depends on how many you're buying, also, right?
Of course. And
No, but
you also.
no, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No, go ahead.
No, but because it comes in like you buy the system, so it comes in the rack that it's gonna be replaced. Anything that was H100 is replaceable with that, or you're gonna get the whole full stack solution of it that has so many GPUs in it already.
Yes, and the people who are salivating about this one, Sam Altman of OpenAI, Meta, Elon Musk, Google, Amazon, even Apple. And some of them are working on their own solutions. We know Google is working on their own solution. Amazon is probably working on their own solution. But it's going to be a cash cow for you, and I'm not going to be surprised that you rank up #1 pretty soon in the world. On top of that, you charge $4,500 for the NIM software per device. That's going to be a lot of money, and it's going to make your company very, very rich. And this is all owed to the vision that Jensen had about AI meeting, and requiring all this hardware.
No,
now,
I honestly, I just want to emphasize on that. That's true. I think in 8-9 years ago, all of the employees were given a T-shirt that said, "I'm AI." I had to go and educate myself. What is this deep learning or AI that we're talking about? So every employee was given a T-shirt.
So he knew something that people just found out after ChatGPT was released.
Yeah, I believe so. And I think, well, not generative AI, but I think on the AI side, yes. And I think along the way, I think he had this vision that you need the full stack, and that's when they bought Mellanox to have those switches, so to make sure that these GPUs, these chips can talk to each other and utilize the way they're working, so that it's not like one is not working, and make sure that all of them are working, talking to, each chip is talking to another one efficiently.
Sorry. One of the problems that people are citing is with this massive need for power, computational power, and with all these setups that you're going to have all over the world to feed on the edge and otherwise, you will need a massive amount of energy to feed these systems. And this is unforeseen. Right now we are trying to come down with the, temp down the amount of energy we're using because of a climate change. All of a sudden we're going to have 20%, 30% demand on energy just because everybody is hungry about generative AI. That is a danger that the world has to face just because, you have provided this new toy that can do this for us.
Well, B100 is going to be consuming less power.
Well,
so
compared to H100.
H100.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think everybody's working on bringing down the costs. We are working on bringing down the power and the cost in terms of power consumption, but also it's doing a lot more. Something that would take 6 months is being done in a day.
Yes.
So it's a lot of more computational work, a lot of data analysis, and a lot of work that is being done. I mean, if you look at it, when we switch to having cars, airplanes, it's using more power. It's more expensive, but it's doing more. It's more efficient.
This is, they say they estimated about $250 billion market, which is going to be the starting market just added because of Blackwell. And it's, Blackwell is capable of processing AI models with 1 trillion parameters. 1 trillion parameters. So that's why everybody is hungry. You're right. We're going to be able to do all these wonderful things, but at the cost of added energy. And there's another risk that I want to bring up to you. We touched upon it yesterday briefly. NVIDIA is a fabless company. You're trying to make some fabs, but by the time those come in, you know, the world is going to be a different shape. You are using TSMC, which is in Taiwan, which is being eyed by China as one of its provinces. So the supply chain disruption of this very, very valuable tool that the world is going to depend on is kind of scary for us. So what is NVIDIA doing to alleviate the fears about this supply chain disruption? Or this geopolitical disruption?
I mean, TSMC is also doing other things. They're also like working on having the factory in the US. It's not just NVIDIA, I would say Apple, all these fabless companies, Broadcom, it's the same situation, I would say, for everybody. But they're also working on thinking about it. They don't foresee it happening in a near future, but also they're working on what other options we should work on, we should think about in case it happens. But I would say it's the same thing for every other fabless company that is working with TSMC.
But in an interconnected world, if we were not interconnected, if, you know, we were making toys and computers that people use for their leisure and for spreadsheets and all that, this would be okay. But if the world becomes so interconnected that the health systems, security systems, army systems are all depending on these, a disruption would be really catastrophic. Let's talk about your competition. I mean, I think you're in unenviable or in enviable position that everybody is so behind, although I'm sure they're working very hard. Intel, AMD, Google itself. Which of these competitions or competitors do you think are most dangerous or most advanced to reach your position?
I would say I'm not going to name any company, but I'm sure every company knows what other companies are doing, hardware, software. I think it's maybe in terms of H100, the competition coming from, you know, companies that just making their own chips. But I would say it will take a long time to catch up because they have to have the full stack solution and they need to have the software for it. So in terms of AMD, I don't see it happening soon.
Okay.
And then
You're naming some companies. How about if I name some companies, you
but
just
in terms
nod?
of other companies, but in terms of other companies, I would say we're just, you know, all collaborating, working with each other. So we're each other's customers. You know, we're using them, they're using us. So it's the same collaboration.
So there are two companies that I think are fairly advanced in this. One of them is Google's AI hardware solution, including TPUs, tensor processing unit. That is probably, you know, touching some nerves in NVIDIA because they're doing it a little bit differently. And also there's GraphCore, which is a UK-based semiconductor, which is working on IPUs, intelligent processing units. Which one of these two, Google or GraphCore, do you think are more worth your attention or keeping Jensen up at night?
No, I don't think any of them really is keeping Jensen up at night. I think it's a big market that everybody can have a piece of it. But again, I would say even if they have the chip, it took us time to be a full stack. We had to buy, Mellanox, and we have to work on having all these full stacks, the whole stack the way it is. So it takes time. It's not just having the chips, or it's not just having the software. And again, it's a big market. It's big enough for everybody.
Well, you got 90% of a market, and it stands to reason you don't want to leave it. We had a little bit of a discussion about whether or not we're moving towards a good AI, or whether or not AI can run off and do something nasty to the world. And you were on the optimistic side. And I want to give you a few minutes to defend.
Disagreed on that one. That's true.
Well, I'm not pessimistic completely. I'm saying that, for example, in medicine, we discussed this here in a forum a couple of months ago. If AI comes up with a diagnosis, it's not often explainable. We can't find out exactly why you made that decisions, because it was a large system that at some point popped up with that question, with that answer. That makes me a little bit worried about not being able to trust that system. But you have a better trust for that AI system.
I think I've seen applications that I personally was really impressed. I think a lot of what some of the applications, I think we can look at it, the way they're using it in drug discovery, healthcare. It's amazing in my opinion. The way they're using it in understanding climate change, weather forecasting. I mean, if I look at it, I would say it's very positive. We can look at all the patterns. We can use all these data, and we can help people and say, for example, this typhoon is coming, or this storm is coming, evacuate the area. So I think if you ask me, in some cases, some application is it's actually saving lives. I feel in healthcare, it's healing, it's helping. In a lot of areas, it's helping with efficiency. If you're building a new factory, I remember it used to take about 2 years sometimes for some of the factories, testing everything, thinking about if this happens or that happens, what's going to happen. One step was getting these robots that are, smart robots. They have AI. That was the first steps, right, back then, to say, well, now it's going to help with the labor work. It's going to help with a lot of other issues that we see. But now with all these generative AI, with Omniverse, Metaverse, you can actually design the factories much, much earlier, right? You can just digitalize what you're trying to have, predict what's going to happen, all the scenarios that can happen. So you can actually bring down the cost, have all these factories, build them quicker, more efficient, and bring down the cost. And I look at it this way. I know that we talk about this. I think for people that think that AI is replacing their job, I don't agree with that. It can always assist humans.
Or you can always pay them. You can always tell them, it's just going to be some basic salary.
It just, it doesn't have to replace, it can assist you. And all of these tools, they can have co-pilot, they can have assist in them, right? You can always ask them on top of everything that they're doing, right? You're designing the factory, you can have all of these co-pilot assists on them. I'm not worried about that, but I would say like any other technology, when they had airplanes at the beginning, it was dangerous. How many airplanes would just, fall? It takes time for everybody to mentally
get used to
it, and yes. I would say it's and like any other technology, it can be in a wrong hand.
You're right. We have about 50,000 deaths on roads these days that didn't exist before the cars, and we got used to it. No, I'm saying it in a positive way. We think the benefits of this And 50,000 deaths is nothing for that. My personal fear, and we're not going to go there, but my personal fear is that the thing we call it the truth is going to be sacrificed. At some point, we will not know what is true, what is false. But we're going to leave it with some other day because I would like to leave a little bit of time for people to ask questions. Do you have questions? You have questions? Raise your hands. And we have one over here. Can we get a microphone to that gentleman over there? Or otherwise, I can spare my microphone. Yeah.
Hello, Bahare. This is Hamed, working for Chevron on lubricants, very close to what you're trying to do with immersion cooling of your GPUs. Speaking of the energy supply, and I heard some plan and thoughts about partnerships. In the energy domain, we are always looking at the scale and coalitions between different government part of the value chain, right? I used to spend my whole career so far in e-mobility, and not everybody still is in a common set as to...
Can you ask your question? Because we really don't have time.
Yeah,
just get to the question.
Just curious how you see the future about chip makers, hyper scale data centers, and energy companies like utilities come together and work together.
I would say, I mean, they're all going to get, everybody's going to have more, they're going to do more computational, more accelerated computing. So they need more GPUs, right? More chips, more GPUs. With generative AI, more tokens, right? All of this. So that's the future. It's going to still continue the way it's going to be. And then everybody will work on bringing down the cost, bringing down the energy consumption. In terms of like immersion cooling that you touched on, some customers like it, some customers don't want it. I think it's like with B100, I think it's a public knowledge. I can just talk about it, the way they're using like, you know, those liquid coolings on it. It's not immersion cooling, but it's liquid cooling. So it depends. I know that we have customers that they ask for it based on like what they want, but it's gonna continue. And I don't think that there's anything at this point saying, you know, anything is gonna stop it, really. It's gonna be always like, you know, you need infrastructure to run all these big models.
Well, thank you very much. On
Thank
behalf
you.
of Plug and Play, the Amity Group, Persian Tech Network, and the
Thank
Iranian community, I thank you,
Thank you.
for spending the time to come over here and informing us.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Bahare Bani Jamali. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So for our second fireside chat part, we have two gentlemen. Behnam is here, right? Yeah. We have two gentlemen, Ahmad Anvari and Behnam Rezai, who have been remarkably successful in the field of online advertising. We are grateful that they are here tonight to tell us about their journey and to teach us about targeted advertising. Please help me give a warm welcome to Ahmad Anvari and Behnam Rezai. You can come over there, yes. You don't have a microphone? Oh, we have one over here, yes. Okay.
Hello.
Welcome. Well, let's see. Ahmad, you are at Amazon delivering outcomes for advertisers. You've been at Uber, head of an ad tech. You were at Meta, messenger business, and analytics. You're at Google Display Network and Yahoo Analytic products. You've done the tour of all the important companies in the Valley, and you're bringing your experience to your present Amazon, essentially working on advertising and matching advertising. You were at CMU as an MS in software engineering and management, and you came from Sharif.
Yep.
And Behnam, you are at Pinterest. You're a VP of monetization, machine language engineering and data science. You were at Tutor, Twitter, VP of Engineering and so Consulting there, and you were CTO at Netseer, PhD at UCLA, and double E from Sharif. I said this just as a list so we can get to the interesting part. The first interesting part that struck me when we talked briefly a couple of days ago, you guys share a lot of your background. You went to the same high school. You were friends from high school. Tell us about it. Which high school was it, and what mean things did you do in the high school?
Yeah, so we went to Allame middle school and high school together.
We had one of your classmates over here last time.
I think we have a bunch of people from Allame here.
How many people are from Allame? Oh,
Or Farzanagan.
Or
Farzanagan. Okay, we got 7. Hey, that's remarkable.
Yeah, so we used to go to school together every day, actually, but like with our parents. Played basketball together. What else?
He was better. So
he's taller.
We went to the same school, and we didn't have kind of shuttle to school. So every day, one of the parents would take kids to school. So imagine a parent, 2 kids in front, 3 kids in the back, and then parents would just rotate. So I got to know his dad, and sometimes his brother would actually drive with us, and then he would go drop him off to daycare.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun experience.
Did you have any activities then that was the precursor of what you're doing now, like in engineering and being a technical field, or was there any trace?
Software gigs, like
Yeah.
computers.
You were playing with computers then?
Yeah.
He's a hacker. He's a better
He's a
hacker.
hacker, and he's better.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I wouldn't
at
say
some
that.
point we have to discover you.
I stayed out of trouble, but yeah.
And you both went to Sharif.
Yep.
Did you take the concours?
Yep.
Both of you? What are your rankings in concours?
Mine was not that.
You're not done.
142, I think.
What was it, 400?
142.
142. He said modestly it's not that good.
34.
34, and he is better. So this one you came on top. Some people fault
It's
me.
always on top.
One multiple choice.
Say it again?
One multiple choice probably here or there.
Way more.
That is true. Now, I want to mention something. Somebody approached me and said, you ask people's concours ranking. And they said it faulting me that I am judging people by their ranking and all that. I want to assure you I'm not doing that to judge, because as you said, as Benham said, one multiple choice could be like 50 to 100 that can change your score. And besides, if you compare yourself with 1 million or so people behind you, a couple of tens of people here and there doesn't make that much of a difference. Believe me, I've been there, I know that. In Sharif, you work together as well? Or did you have a common life together? Did you take courses together?
He was 1 year ahead of me.
There we go again.
Yeah. But yeah, we had some classes together, I think, yeah. He was the smart one, so he always took classes with me.
So you were better at basketball and he was the smart one.
guy, yeah.
Okay, all right.
He's also more good looking.
All right, so at some point your paths cross again. When did you just join together, or were in the same area after you bifurcated? You went to CMU and you went to UCLA. So they were separate from, were you in touch with each other then?
Yeah, but we've never actually worked in the same company together. So it's interesting that we have actually worked in ad tech or recommender systems a lot, but we've actually never worked in the same company. But we catch up a lot because we're in the same field. We know a lot of common people.
I think 2004 or 5 was when you came to the Bay Area, right? Or 6 with Netseer.
2007.
2007. So yeah, he
when
called
did
me.
you come to?
2001.
2001, okay.
Yeah, so he called me up and said, okay, yeah, I have this company. I came here. So I looked at your company a little bit, worked it together. He had the problem of like figuring out what ad tags are on a website, and he said like, oh yeah, can you write a program to do this for me? And I did it for him while I was at advertising.com back in the. He said he's gonna pay me. He never paid me, but.
So paid in Bitcoin.
So you've done many different things, but right now you're both experts in online advertising. Can you walk us through what is the difference? What happens when I go online and click on something or you display an ad for me? What are the sequence of the things that happen?
Yeah, so when you go to a website or an app or you watch a video, first thing is that a bid request or request comes to our servers. And in that moment, some information about your profile and your context, your history, etc., gets shared with the server. And then the server goes and processes hundreds of thousands of ads that can be eligible to be shown to you.
So something about me gets shared. What is it? Typically, what is it? Like, I mean, 2 in the morning, I'm looking at this video.
It depends on the company. What company has access to what kind of data? For example, at Amazon, we have some signals about like if you recognize you have your user history, and we have your videos you have watched, what items you have looked at, what you have purchased. So all of that is part of your profile if you recognize it.
And these are in cookies, or is it outside independent companies managing those information about me, or both?
It's both, and depends on where you are. So if you are on Amazon.com or you're watching a Prime Video, for example, we have more information from you. And then typically, cookies came and became very popular, but as you know, the platforms are now blocking cookies, so you can't track users across different platforms anymore. Benno, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think one way to think about advertising is the two-sided marketplace. On one side, you want to show something to the user that they see value. On the other side, you want to show something that an advertiser gets value from it. And the whole art of it, what do you show that satisfies both? Right? I can show something relevant to you but not get paid as much for it. And on the other hand, I can show something to you that the advertiser pays a lot, but it might not be very relevant to the user. Now, the challenges with the compliance and recent regulation is that how do you do that in a way that is still users feel that they trust that we use their data in a kind of right way, and they have control that we lose the data that we know about them. So a lot of the kind of recent regulations about trust and control of the users.
So I'm a little bit confused. Is it trusting the advertisement or trusting the content? You don't mess around with the content, do you?
Trusting the data. How do we handle the data that we have about the users?
How do you handle data? Okay. So, and Apple has done something recently that has limited you. How does that work? What is that?
Yeah, so Apple and other platforms, they block third-party tracking. So, for example, if you are on an application and then you go to another application and you want to share data between the two, the platforms don't have access to data that shares between those two applications. For example, if you go to Nike, browse an item, and that cookie gets tracked within the Nike website, and then you go to another platform where you see ads, then the ad platform won't have access to this data shared between the different applications or websites. And Apple has done it on the Safari browser and on the operating system, the iOS. And Google is planning to follow suit to do same thing on Chrome and the operating system and Android.
And that makes your job more difficult.
Yeah.
And you don't like it.
No.
So why do people do that?
It's for users' privacy and protecting users.
You want to add something to it, yeah?
Yeah, when Apple tried to do that, Meta tried to make a good argument, which I think was a good argument, that this is actually hurtful for small businesses, and this actually gives advantages to the big business. I think Apple does it for multiple reasons. One of them is the kind of business competitive advantage they have, right, versus the other big companies. So I don't think they're doing necessarily that for the sake of users' trust.
It's not their good.
This is my personal opinion,
yeah.
that in compliance and regulations and laws, user kind of benefit is not necessarily the ultimate reason why things happen. I don't know how many people are getting benefit from clicking on I accept this cookie on every website that they go. So I think this is about which company has leverage where and where they can squeeze other companies. And in my opinion, actually, a lot of these regulations at the end of the day benefit more bigger companies. Because now Meta has so much data using machine learning, they can predict and do a lot of things that you wouldn't be able to do. But if I had a startup in advertising now, I would have been destroyed because I don't have all of that data to be able to do it, right? What Meta is doing. So
I thought you can buy it from Meta, or for a price Meta allows you to access the segment of a population you're targeting your ads to, no?
you can buy from them,
Yeah.
right? But you
Well,
basically
there's a price, yeah.
Yeah, you can basically need to do advertising on their side.
So next question is, how is product cycle different from ads, for ads versus consumer products?
Yeah, I can start. So I've worked mostly in ads for the past 20 years, so I can speak more about advertising, but I've also worked at Facebook working on consumer products to balance the value of ads versus the value that gets to the users. So I think, I mean, there's a lot of similarity between them. So if you think about both, you want to grow your users, more of the consumer-based growth. So in terms of consumer products, you want to have a growth mentality, work on like metrics where you acquire users, you want to retain them, and then you get them value for retention of the user and bring them back to the platform. In the advertising business, we're dealing with growing advertiser base. So it's a whole new different dimension. And also into the product life cycle, it's usually longer. You look at and you do a lot more customer interviews, what they call it at Amazon, voice of customers. So we do a lot of sessions with customers, figuring out what are the gaps in the product platform that we have, and we build for them while maintaining user trust and user functionality.
I think you covered most of it. A few others that I would add is, in my opinion, ad is easier in terms of there's clear metrics. You need to move revenue, you need to improve performance of advertisers, so it's very clear cut, but it's a lot more intense. If you miss it, the company's missing it, you need to, especially if you're a public company, you're hitting every single thing.
Yeah.
Consumer, in my opinion, is a little bit more fun, but also it's more kind of exploratory. Like, you cannot come up with idea of YouTube or idea of Instagram. You can sit here, you can use any of the frameworks, but at the end of the day, you need to look at user needs, what users want, and then build something, and sometimes it works, sometimes it others. To me, consumer product development is a lot more kind of, you need to be in touch with consumer needs, and it needs to be more creative, and to be honest, there's more kind of, there are more unknowns. So usually the companies that do well is that they try a lot of things. That's why Meta is very good at kind of online thing. Either they copy or iterate, or they come up with things.
So one thing which is changing because of generative AI, and I alluded to it, is in the split second of that you have to decide what to show, what advertisement to show. If you had a lot more processing power and admittedly more data, you would be able to have a knockout advertisement that the user is, dead on the target for. So that would be one of my guesses for generative AI being able to provide the benefits for the advertising companies and the platforms. What are the others, or is this the only one, just in an aggrandized way?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, and traditionally, a lot of advertising has been on context, like in context of your search or what websites you're viewing at this point or what app you're using. With the introduction of cookies and history of users, obviously this data become a lot more richer, right? So we do a lot more predictions. And, the advertising is based on predictions in general, as you mentioned, to pick the best ad for that user. So we build a lot of predictive audiences that are tailored to either a specific action the user has taken. For example, we, at Amazon, we know that people change their shipping addresses, and we look at what they buy before changing the shipping address. So we know that they move at some point in time, and then we look at the behavior before moving, and we predict the user is going to move. right? There's like a famous example of a target ad that knew the person was pregnant before their family knew that they're pregnant, right?
Yes. Could be dangerous sometimes.
Yeah, you probably have seen that. So we get all these signals from advertisers. Let's say State Farm, and State Farm gives us the list of all of their users who have requested an estimate for insurance, for example, and that goes to our system and look at all the history of those users, everything that we know about the users, what they have done, and we predict users who are like those users. So we build an audience for the State Farm using AI that predicts the likelihood of these new users who we don't know anything about them and haven't really requested an estimate from State Farm. And then we target State Farm ads to those users. For each user, again, a lot of advertisers compete for that moment, and then we calculate the scores based on these probabilities.
So if you had a lot of power, a lot of these B200 boxes and infinite amount of power, and data transmission was no problem to them, and the communication lines, there were no problems to them, what could you create? What would be the ultimate that we would long for, or you would long for? Bena.
So a few things that I would add. So most of the AI kind of compute today is recommender systems. The reason why NVIDIA stock has gone up is not yet because of ChatGPT and kind of generative applications. Yes. A lot of it is because model training and inference is moving to GPUs, yes, where it was CPU before. And it's because even recommender systems have adopted transformer architecture. So it's an architecture that instead of us kind of feeding typical features, we actually feed individual actions of users. So why I said that is, so that's why you see the GPU, and that's why you saw that, Meta bought, genius of Mark Zuckerberg was that they bought a lot of that before kind of the rush to it from NVIDIA. Now, imagine if that on the recommender system today, you go to a website and you say, give me a hotel, or you go to advertising and say, give me the best ad, or you go to Twitter and say, give me the best feed, or you go to Instagram and they show you the best kind of content from the reels. All of them are showing you best content given certain things. Now, imagine a world that basically what is fed into that model is every single thing you've done.
That's scary.
Yeah. So the GPT was feeding to a model every single written human kind of information, and now there's some kind of leaks that they even transcribe some YouTube video things and kind of things like that. They are now going beyond written human content. They're going around verbal. Can we have transcript of conversation, things like that? How can we get
videos? Yes.
Yeah, content of knowledge around humanity and feed it to a big language model? The same thing holds true for a recommender system. Can I just look at everything you did? Now, what can I do with it is that you want to know what you want to have for dinner, as we just discussed. It will know better than you or your wife what you would like for dinner tonight. That you would like abgusht, or you would like steak, right? Now, take that to every single thing, right? And it becomes interesting, but it's scary all at the same time.
Let's take the scary route and discover.
I saw that you liked it a lot.
The dark side of targeted advertising, obviously the privacy issues. It reminds me of the dystopian novels, 1984, Brave New World, or most recently, The Minority Report. I get creeped out if the system knows more about me than I think I do. How can we avoid that creep factor and still have a civil society? How can I erase some of my information, some of the things you know about me?
So generally, you have every platform gives you tools to delete your data. So it's like user is generally in control. We do know a lot about you, and a lot more than probably that you think that we know. Part of my team is just their mission is just to collect that data from every action that you do in a privacy. But we have guardrails around it. So, for example, certain categories, like healthcare, for example, they're excluded from our data collection. So we automatically know the sensitive areas, and we exclude them from data collection. To answer your previous question about like what is ideal in terms of if you have like infinite computing power, is really that you see ads currently that are irrelevant to you, right? Ideal situation
Hopefully,
is that you see that all ads are relevant to you. Like 100% of ads that you see, you want to click on them. You want to click and buy something on those ads. And I think if we had the infinite power, we'd probably be in that situation. We reduce number of ads, but those ads will be more and more
That is
relevant to
something
you.
I cannot totally agree with you, Ahmad, because if an ad is so effective that I'm defenseless, I mean, I really need this. I really click on it whether or not I need it because it comes up with this sort of a scheme that convinces me. That borders on manipulation. And I don't know how to separate these two. I am worried about the world that we're moving in, that we give too much power to entities whose motivations are not for the betterment of human being, but for profit. You know, I have respect that companies have to make profit and, you know, they have to have a business. But there's got to be some sort of a serious guardrails, including my ability to be to erase some of this information that you have. There's this book by this Columbia professor, Tim Wu. I don't know whether you're familiar with it, Attention Merchants. He has this thesis that between this triangle, the users, the platforms, and the advertisers pay for the advertisement to be played, to be displayed to the users, and they get their money back because hopefully, you know, I buy more cars, I buy more of their services, and you get paid by the advertisers to provide that service, but I don't get paid, and in fact, I pay for your services. I am the product. There are some guardrails. European countries have GDPR, and California has some guardrails, but what do you see this increased power because of the work that NVIDIA is, the power that NVIDIA is providing for you, and the consumer who are essentially defenseless as your company is using more and more of this? How should we create a balance between these two that I would not be creeped out or I would not feel that I'm being manipulated?
Yeah, so just to repeat that those guardrails exist, so you're in control of your data. It's very important to know that the whole advertising ecosystem has been around for a long time, and these publishers need to get paid, right? Generally.
Yeah.
So you will see advertising regardless, right? Like we have to have ads in newspapers, on TV, on websites and apps. The point that I was raising is that we want those ads to be more relevant to you. So instead of you seeing like a lipstick ad that you probably won't buy, then
which is good, because then I don't have to spend.
Exactly, right. Then we suggest something that you probably will buy, but you will need it. But we encourage you with a deal to buy that. And our mission is not like necessarily to make money for our companies. We want to make advertisers, like bring value to advertisers so they invest more in advertising. So we make the publishing ecosystem better, and then the whole life cycle continues.
I think we touched into 4 or 5 things here, which each of them probably needs a few hours. One, you're right. Advertising supported businesses, by definition, they're not aligned completely with the consumer needs. They might align themselves with consumer wants, which can be, hey, I want like that addiction. And that's why when Elon took over Twitter, he really pushed into whether he can kind of have non-advertising sources, because he felt that both from where he wanted to take the platform and also for the users, that's necessary. By definition, you'll never be the right. And that's why I like that kind of approach. That's not. The second one is companies are looking at my data and kind of doing things with it. I don't think in the future world there's going to be a way around it. Yes, we have regulations on any of these apps. You can delete anything we know about you. Meta has it, Google has it, Pinterest has it, Twitter has it. But in this world, there's so many things, more and more are going to collect things from you. Kind of going
we
with
gotta
that,
give up.
going with that thing of, hey, I'm going to be this kind of anonymous thing going around. I think it's a good discussion to have, whether we allow people to have few different digital entities that they can, the only thing I can see is that you reset yourself, right? You can be A and B.
Or have avatars with zero information
Yeah.
or conflicting information.
So that's on that one. In terms of, yes, it is true. We like, but like, you know, now in Europe, the way Meta is trying to get around the regulations of Europe is that given an option for users to pay
Uh-huh.
for
For
Meta
their
and have
information
no
to be
ads,
used. Yeah.
or you actually have personalized ads, right? Because Europe made it that you cannot opt in by default users for personalization. So that's the trick they use. They know not that many people want to pay. So to your question, would you be willing to pay $5 a month for Pinterest, $10 for Instagram? I don't know the ARPU of.
But not be
of,
manipulated into buying something that
and then
you,
we will
you
leave
think
you
I-
alone. Will not manipulate you, right?
Okay.
And then $5 for LinkedIn, $20 for Facebook, right? Because
At least
now
there's a choice there,
advertising ARPU is pretty high. I don't remember Meta's ARPU, but revenue per user per year is not that low. If you want to, like, you might want to pay it, but that person that has minimum wage job at McDonald's doesn't want to pay $10 to. So it's an interesting value transition that you have the buying power of your daily things. Advertisers want that. Advertisers are subsidizing your consumption of certain products. It's an indirect value transaction. Like they could have given you a discount for a McDonald's and not pay Meta and come back. But I don't think that's a world that we can transition to that easily.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your insightful answer. I have one last question before I open the floor to people. Hopefully you have some questions. And this could be a controversial one between you two. I'm sorry if I bring it in at the time that you guys may disagree with each other. Why Shaquille O'Neal is the greatest player of all times?
I think he is. Yeah, I was a big fan of Shaq when I was in high school. I think that's probably.
And Ben,
what do you
you
think?
agree with this?
I would go with LeBron.
LeBron? Yeah.
I'm a Steph fan, but LeBron is the best.
How long have you guys had this discussion?
I don't know, but I think the
Don't say
bigger
that.
thing is that you even had your email had some Shaq something.
Yeah,
in it,
my Shaq. I collected all the posters of Shaq. I had like a book.
So you're a fan,
Yeah,
you're a
big
real
Shaq,
fanatic, yes.
Jersey and everything, yeah. And we used to play basketball together and watch basketball, the Warriors games. Banham had a good like season pass, like front row seats. So I used to tag along with him.
So LeBron is your favorite.
Right now, Steph.
Steph.
Right now,
This is
Steph.
an-
Okay. So
But you asked who is the greatest player of all time.
oh, I see. I stand corrected.
Favorite is
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very
Thanks a
much
lot.
for taking the time
Thank
to
you.
be over here.
Thank you.
Questions? We have hands raised over here. Can we help with the microphone? Two over there, and then this gentleman over here. I'll walk with my iPhone.
Hi, my name is Ali Rostami, and the question that I'm going to ask you doesn't have anything to do with what I do. Sure, yeah. Unlike the first question that I asked tonight, which was exactly what I do, but from the perspective of a user, do you guys or anyone across your profession leverages any kind of like passive microphone data for advertisements? I'm pretty sure that everyone here has this question. Like, if you talk about something or discuss about something, and later on you see something coming up.
It's a common question. I think a lot of the ads that you see sometimes is like just by chance, and maybe there's some other factors going into.
Just 1 second. Just 1 second. Excuse me, people over there, if you want to talk, it would be very distracting to us. Please be respectful of the speaker and take your conversation outside. You want me to name names? Honey John, can you go outside, please? If you want. Okay, please go ahead. Yes.
So Pinterest doesn't, but maybe that's why our ads are not as effective as Meta. Meta is accused of that. I don't know the answer. But to be honest, if you really know every click, everything that the user has done. Meta's done shady things like, looking at your contact list, reading your text. Like, what TikTok does is downloads. Yeah, they look at VPN to look at they used to have I think they bought a company that would let you know what are the other apps in the thing.
Yes, a VPN
TikTok,
software.
when you give it permission, it actually goes through and downloads all of your photos, and from that figures out, hey, you're a dog person. So there might be so many places that they get your info. I don't know whether Mike thing necessarily is the one, but I think the broader thing is that yes, all of these companies look for every single information they can know about you, visually, verbally, anything. And then on one hand, it can look like good magic. Suddenly you see that ad or that piece of content, that funny video that you're like, oh, this is really hit the spot. Or it can be creepy that, hey, how the hell do they know that I like this type of puppies?
Yeah.
Sure. Elham Moore, I'm the president and CEO of Keep Children in School Foundation, a nonprofit in LA focused on education in Iran. The question that I have is, sometimes I feel there is a trust that comes with a sense of familiarity. Like if I see an ad that is not maybe necessarily relevant to me, but if I see it 5 times in a month, then maybe the 4th time I click on it, maybe the 5th, maybe the 10th time I actually buy it. Is there something like that that you target people like or groups based on, I don't know, some categorization that may come up in your algorithms, and then create a sense of trust or some need just by repeating it, so that people, by seeing it a lot, feel that they want it rather than just target it, just like you mentioned?
I can start. Yeah. So yeah, that concept exists. Obviously we optimize always with advertiser and user. We optimize based on combinations. Some brands you want to show them more and more advertising or repeated advertising to the user, and some brands are not as effective if you repeat it to the user. And too much repetition is also bad, as you know. There's like settings. There's a standard setting called frequency capping, where you can apply as an advertiser to not show ads too repeatedly to the user. And advertisers have those knobs too, so they constantly play with the setting to figure out what the optimal number of ads per user is.
For performance advertising, the answer is yes and no. The answer is no, because more and more you remove all of these things, let the model figure it out. Yes, because if you, by repeating it, you don't go and buy, the model learns it and will do it if enough plays. So that's why I think, say, John was mentioning something that more and more, really the thing becomes, some people build chips that you can feed everything to it and build these huge models, and then some people find ways of knowing what everybody does and then feed it to that model and then tell that model that I want this to happen. I want the person to click. I want the person to buy. I want the person to do X. And then it will find the optimum thing. And that optimum thing is not really a heuristic or something that you would explain.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have a question because Mani Rezai, I'm new here in California. I think everybody knows it, yeah. You are clever enough. You are managing big teams, I think. But mostly we are talking about startups here. For sure, you had some ideas in your mind to having startups. But I want to see which stops you to do it, or which motivation keeps you to work with big companies instead of doing your own startups, yeah?
I can go first. Startup was my first job. So I started a company out of UCLA. I did it for 10 years. The closest thing I can explain to somebody that hasn't done it is like, it's like parenting, right? When you have kids, it's a lot of fun, but it's also very hard. So I had most fun years of my life doing that, but also I had the hardest years of my life. I was working my ass off. There were days that, we wouldn't have money to pay our employees next week, and I had to kind of bear the kind of bear that with me. So it was a lot of fun, but it was very intense. The nice thing about working at a bigger company is that the things that you do, you see bigger impact. You have steady source of income. If and the risk and reward portfolio is very different. So I did a company for 10 years, sold it, but not for a big amount that would help me retire. I tried another one, couldn't raise money, and then I went to Twitter, worked for at Twitter for 6 years. I would go back, and actually right now is a good time. I think we had some good presentations of basic applications of AI. I think this is one of those a Pandora moment. There's if you're a fan of ballet, there's a ballet in San Francisco called Pandora's Box or Pandora, which I think they're bringing back again. It basically is a new twist of the Pandora's Box mythology. This is one of those moments. And I think it's a good moment to do startups, but goes back into where you're in your life. I have a 2.5 years old and 5.5 years old, and have certain burn rate, things like that. So that's the reason for me, but it would be a good time to do it. But also, I mean, you need to make sure you do it right. You need to make sure that there's a lot of things that go with that. So that would be my reason for it.
Yeah, so, and you covered part of my answer, but yeah, so I generally treat my team as like a startup within the big company too. So it's like I get that satisfaction of building things fast. And every time I was at Google, I had a small team, built a lot of things and grew it to multi-billion dollars. And Instagram, when I joined, basically there's no advertising on Instagram. I was hired to build advertising, and I was like felt like a startup within a bigger back in the day. Even Instagram was small. But and then even at Amazon, I mean, my team is kind of like smaller size compared to the entire Amazon business, but like we are growing really fast there. Having said that, I may go to do a startup at some point. I mean, it's just like I'm not against it. I think it's just that a lot of data that exists in Amazon and my experience, really matches with using that data, building bigger products, especially at Amazon and other companies had a lot of user base. So my expertise is generally like when you have like a big user base and you want to monetize and generate revenue, I come in and help there. Yeah.
One more thing I would add is that if you do a startup, you should really do it because you love that idea, you love doing that. Don't do it for the money, because right now, being one of those big companies in the next few years, you probably are going to make more money. Expected outcome that you will have is a lot more. If you work for NVIDIA, Apple, Google, any of them, you pick it, you probably are going to make more money, expected money, than doing startups. So if you really have that fire in the belly, is you're just enjoying it and you want to take that risk.
Are you familiar with Advertising Research Foundation? Oh, I'm Dr. K.R.S. Murthy. I have done foundational work in advertising, and I have reviewed who is who authors of books. There is what's called Advertising Research Foundation. And if you are familiar with it, talk about it, because a lot of people don't seem to normally know that I come across how it is done. There are different aspects of advertising metrics. Yeah, that was my question.
No, I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, I'm not familiar either. Sorry. Yeah.
My name is Rasul Askuyi, and he's going to say your affiliation. My affiliation is I was classmate with Saeed at Society of Iranian Professionals in 1980s. So that's how old he is. But anyhow, I want to follow up on that scary path and where Saeed was going, and we talk about some regulations. In terms of you put some examples of recent cookies that users have to do, so on and so forth. But those are very primitives with the AI and the large language model being trained today. Most of these models have been trained over the last years, 5, 8 years. So it's already too late. They have picked up a lot of information that we were not at liberty to share. Worse than that, and there is a lawsuit pending, as I understand, against Microsoft, that GitHub has been basically been trained by all the sources of companies, code. Now imagine that, all that proprietary information, but then this is exactly the question. So when you talk about the privacy and protection, given the data, what the data we have in the cloud, all of our private cloud data structures, eventually or as is, a lot of these being basically scanned for training. So what happens? Where do we go in the future?
I'll share two perspectives. The one I'm more worried about is that a lot of these data are now behind walled gardens, and the only ones that can do it are Meta and Googles of the world. So startups cannot do that. That's previously it was open web, right? So that's the thing that actually now you see Twitter, like Elon, the first thing he did, he asked us to turn off all the access to Twitter content APIs. Reddit has not done it like they do. So there's that aspect of who can look at what you're doing, but also I actually think, I wish it was more possible that we were making data more available for others so that it actually spark more competition. I think now these days, there's no way somebody can be the next Google, because Google was based on open web. They could crawl the whole web. So that's one thing. On the doomsday, I'm less concerned about AIs learning the way I think and helping me. I'm more concerned around whether these big companies are investing more in improving human productivity versus replacing humans, right? In the human history, a lot of times is about increasing productivity of humans, and a lot of the innovation has helped with that. And I think you need to think about whether this AI is gonna turn each of us into something that we can be even more effective and more productive versus it replacing us. And I think the technologies we develop and the way these big companies, they're gonna be the ones who decide on that. Like, it's gonna depend a lot of how the society will looks like in the next few years. One more thing I would add is that Sam Altman is a good salesman. Last week, he had this kind of conference for all the kind of customers of OpenAI. He opened it up with something like this. Somebody that's born today will live in a world that AI has always been smarter than them. Because the baby, he basically claims the baby that is born now, because the baby has less kind of cognitive recognition. He's basically claiming the speed that these AIs are going to improve in the next few years is going to be faster than the growth of this baby. That to me is the more scary thing, and whether that baby, what role he will have in society and how he's going to interact with that AI, then, okay, who owns my data and kind of what does with it, and whether these technologies, there are ways that we can have more competition and now not these 5 big companies that is going to double their market.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing to it, and I agree with Behnam, is that data that we have that, the open web or public data, I want to separate it from personal data. And a lot of the open data just makes it a level playing field with everyone. So everyone is like in the same position. They can use it and they can train their models. But then when it comes to your personal data, that's the area that we take it very seriously and make sure that we protect that data. This new concept of clean rooms is an important concept that has come up. So as a third-party entity, when you have access to everyone's data, let's say Experian, for example, we know that what people buy or people are interested in, they upload that data into clean room, which is a third-party area where you can join that third-party data with advertiser data. Then the clean room makes that join possible. Data doesn't leave the clean room and stays in a safe environment where there's no possible chance of leaking. So that's what the investments are now in the data privacy field. Yeah.
And our last question goes to my friend Behnam, who runs about 100 miles a week, my hero in running.
Thank you.
Nice name.
Thank you very much for engaging and interesting conversation. I'm Behnam Kamrani. I'm a mechanical engineer and nowadays founder of a fitness app. It's called On Run. It's an easy way to find group activities and group runs and showcase your past race results. My question is, you mentioned that a lot of data is saved by users, from users and your servers. I was just curious how easy it is for, say, employees to access those data. Can you search, say, by someone's name? I mean, like, get those information out, like, say, for someone that works for in your team or something like that, or how is easy to access those information?
I can answer Pinterest, and then probably similar to most tech companies. A lot of them have made big investments in this area. A lot of the data is privacy by design, so nobody can access and read and decipher any of the data. So you just need to be that user to be able to access that data. So even the data access at aggregate, we are very careful that, hey, at aggregate, is it possible to kind of play it back and see whether you can find that particular user? The example that Ahmed made, that when things go into clean room or other places, there's a lot of work that is done so that you cannot really find individuals. And by design, the systems are such that you cannot do that. There might be cases for certain things like trust and safety or legal or other things, but they have a lot of checks and balances. And you need to get a lot of approvals, like, you know, things like that, because somebody might need to look at something to know whether this is child porn or not. So there are those systems in place, but they have a lot of kind of checks and balances. So I will be very surprised in any of these big companies a random employee can access kind of user data.
Yeah, I mean, trust and safety is a big use case there. Again, also depends on company maturity, and more they take it seriously. You know, when I was at Google, for example, if you knew someone like Gmail address for certain use cases, you could log in and see Gmail, but like these activities get logged. Same thing for Facebook. If you have like someone's Facebook ID and you want to track for certain troubleshooting or debugging use cases, you could. But again, these activities get logged, and then it's when you go to Facebook or you get employed there, if you use it for like personal purposes or things that are not related to your work, consequences are severe. You basically get fired. So there are use cases for it, but like not that common.
You guys all noticed that our last questioner inserted a little advertisement about his business. True to form. Thank you for doing that. Well, on behalf of the Amidi Group, Plug and Play, Persian Tech Network, and the Iranian community, I would like to thank you for spending the time with us and answering our questions. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for hosting us.
I take the microphone. You have until, I think, 9 o'clock. I have 3 microphones to network, and please spend this time to get to know some people who can help you in the future career.